Okay, now this is again S-log3. We are at the base ISO of 800. We are 2 exposure stops above. We are at f22 now, 1/60 shutter speed, and again we are shooting in 4K, 30 frames per second. Now we are shooting in 4K, 30 frames per second. We are still at the base ISO. We are now 2 exposures above the. We are 2 stops above the exposure mode. We are at f2.8, 1/60. We're shooting in 30 frames per second. So yeah, that's what it looks like. Let's put a color grade on it. Okay, now we are at a different location. We're still at the base ISO of 800. I don't want to get too far away from this because then you start to see clipping a little bit earlier on the exposure meter. I have my histogram up. I'm currently 1 meter above the exposure, 1 plus, or +1. I'm still at f22, and now I'm currently recording 1/160. This is just, we'll see the color grade afterwards, and now we'll try with the ND filter. We are still at the base ISO of 800. We are now +1 stops above the exposure. We are at f2.8 now, and we are 1/60 in 4K, 30 frames per second. Now we are still at 800 base ISO. We are now +2 stops above the exposure, still at f2.8 and 1/60 for the shutter speed. Again in S-log3. So we're in 4K, base ISO at 800, again S-log3. We are 2 stops above the exposure. We are at f2.8. I currently have the ND filter on, and we are at 1/60 on shutter speed. We are focused on the Fox lettering because there's a lot of contrast in this area. We are now at the base ISO of 800. We are only 1 stop above the exposure. We are at f2.8, manually focused on the Fox letters, and 1/60 of shutter speed. So now this is me. We should be at the base ISO of 800. I believe f2.8, 1/60 for the shutter speed, and we are 2 stops above exposure. This is just to see kind of skin tones. I have the sun directly on me. There is no overcast. It's the sun directly to my skin. It's a little bright. It's hard to kind of see, but it's also very windy. So if you